Well, he's just Herb. He's not even Urban Meyer.
We're live, by the way, but hey, look, it's the Thursday show, man. Big Baby and friends. I got Parlay Pete here with me already. Major parlays on the way. That Atlanta traffic, man, I tell you. But
You can't get through it. I mean, if you want to go side to side, you're going to hit it on 20. If you want to go north to south, you're going to hit it on 75, 85. Then if you just want to try and go around it all, you're going to get it at 285,
yeah, I mean it's awful. But speaking of awful, my man Herb has had an awful week. He's having an awful season. He's having an awful NFL career, man. So let's just burn this herb real quick. Let's just spark up a little bit of herb right now. And I'm gonna let you start.
Gosh, I mean, that's such, easy territory. You could start anywhere. Okay, well, let's just start with, I don't know, the way that his last two situations have ended. He cited health reasons in Florida and wanting to be with his family. And then the same thing kind of with Ohio State, even though he was under fire for that guy that he hired that I think was like cheating on his wife or something like that, and was like abusing her. Yeah, at Ohio State. And it was like a known thing, like they were eating dinner together. He kept hiring them places, but it had been going on since he was at Utah or something like that. And so
Utah or Florida, one of them. It was a multi-stop thing.
Yeah, because he had hired him multiple times, and like these things, this had been going on for that long. And so, we can start there. Let's just start where, let's do the iceberg theory on this thing. I mean, this thing goes deep before it comes to the surface. So then he's out at Ohio State. Then you know what? It's like, hey, Jacksonville's got the number one pick. This is a reputable coach that has won everywhere that he's went. Let's see what he can do in the NFL. Shad Khan's got billions upon billions to throw at whatever he wants. I mean, this is a guy clearly that doesn't care about his money because he's saying, you know what? I'm going to take on Vince McMahon in the wrestling industry. We're going to hire all the former wrestlers. We're going to basically be WCW 2.0, even though I think that they're having a little bit of success. They're not having the WCW success yet. But
no.
Point being, Shad's got money to throw. Let's hire Herb. All right? Herb gets in town. Everybody knows who they're drafting with the number one pick, the most obvious position. Cool. Then they make the selection, and then you get to OTAs. This guy is doing things that he knows the NFL doesn't approve of, gets the team fined $200K, gets himself fined $100K for doing them. All this for an OTA that's like a weekend. You know what I mean? It's like basically a week tops worth of work just to get the guys in. And then
your roster's terrible. It's not like it's going to make a difference. This practice will not make a difference.
And then it just starts getting worse and worse. Then you know what? You say, fuck it. We want to sign Tebow. Even though he works for ESPN and does college stuff, even though he's a AA player for the Mets, let's bring in Tim because, I just want to kick the tires on him. We live next door to each other. He's a favorite around these parts. There's a lot of Florida ties right here in Jacksonville. They play here every year. They get plenty of great support against Georgia. I'm sure that there's going to be some people that will buy some jerseys, Mr. Khan. Let's sign him. Yeah, let's give him a 1 year, like $1.5 million contract for a guy that hasn't played football. We're going to throw him in at tight end. I think that the last time Tebow played, they did try him at tight end in New England or the Jets. I forgot which was last, but
I think he turned it down.
Yeah, well, the point is, because it wasn't going to fucking work, he knew it too. And so then you sign Tebow, and you say he's got a legitimate chance of making the roster. You cut him after that fiasco in the first preseason game. You knew it was never going to work. And, just when you thought the shenanigans were going to end, they just keep on rolling. This guy, Herb, goes in, and he says during it, we got a quarterback competition. He said, Trevor Lawrence isn't. And I remember watching the Monday night telecast when they played. It was week 2, I think, of the preseason. They played the Saints, and Jameis Winston torched that ass with Marquez Callaway. And, their telecast kept talking about how Urban is convinced that this is actually a competition when everybody knew to call bullshit. You know the old card game BS.
Yeah.
He's the guy that obviously is lying and everybody knows it. So it's so easy to call it because he's got a history of doing it.
Yeah.
And,
Urban has 3 cards in his hand, and he goes, I have 3 aces.
right? 3 aces to end the game. And it's just like, okay, yeah, all right. And then, then they do announce who wins the quarterback competition by fucking trading Gardner Minshew. But now it was such a good competition to where he had to get rid of it because he was like, I don't even want this to be a distraction. It wasn't because he was never going to really be the starter and they just wanted to get something for him. No, this guy would be a distraction to the number 1 pick and the highest touted quarterback since Andrew Luck to come out of the draft, the biggest slam dunk since that. And, we're just going to trade him. We think it's going to be best for him. He's going to have a chance to compete in Philly for a job. We get a 6th-round pick, conditional 6th-round pick for him. It'll be great, And just when you thought that was going to end it, they come out, they start getting their ass beat to kick off the season. No surprise there. Jacksonville has lost 19 straight games because they won the first game last year and then they lost 15 in a row. And now they've lost 4 in a row. They've lost 19 games in a row. And
wait for Miles Jack, man.
Yeah. And he came in with so much uncertainty for his career when he first got into the league, just because he had a serious injury, I remember. But and then there was a thought of, is he a linebacker or is he a running back? Because he was doing work at UCLA.
Yeah, he was doing both at UCLA. Yeah, absolutely.
But okay, so now you start the season off getting your ass kicked. Now you come out, you play the Bengals, a team that is for 3-1 overrated. You play them, you're on the road, you're up 14-0 to start the game. Great start. All right, maybe we can, our division isn't impossible to win. It's probably the worst division in football, actually.
It absolutely is the worst
when
division.
you really look at it, because to me, the Titans, that is not a good football team. They could be dangerous if they make the playoffs because they've got so much talent on the offense. But in terms of totality, that really isn't a good football team. I mean, they're not a good football team. And then the Colts, hell, we've seen what the Colts are with Carson Wentz. They're just as fragile as he is. And the Texans, we all know, are another dumpster fire. So you're up 14-0 at halftime. You got a chance to beat the Bengals. You're in Ohio. Herb's from Ohio. So you come out.
He's big man on campus in Ohio.
Yeah, exactly. So you come out and you get outscored 24-7 in the second half. Okay, we see the progress, coach. All right, finally something. And then the guys are headed to the to the tarmac to get on the flight, and somebody probably is asking, "Hey, man, where's Coach Meyer?"
No. They say, "Hey, where the fuck is Herb?"
Yeah, where the fuck is Herb? And they're like, "Oh yeah, so he's staying. He wanted to." Spend time with his family. He didn't want to, even though he's got all this money, he didn't move him down to Jacksonville. They're here. They're up here. His wife's with the grandkids. He wants to spend time with the family. Everybody in that locker room that's been in the NFL knew that's some shit that just doesn't happen. So, okay, whatever. We're going to go home. We'll lick these wounds by ourselves. I guess whatever he talked about in the locker room was the last we'll hear from him until Monday. Wrong. We're all on social media. Let's get on Barstool Sports on fucking Saturday night. Oh my God, is that coach with a co-ed, grinding on him, and he's got his hand like on her ass? I love you, baby. Is that him taking a picture with a hot white co-ed? Is that him? Is that drink in his hand? Is he wearing an Ohio State pullover?
Not even Jacksonville. Not even the team he's now coaching.
Is
cheating on your wife and your team?
Yeah. And then that happens, and it's just kind of like, God damn it, Herb. I mean, when are you going to learn, buddy? When does this thing stop? And I just think that when you look at a guy like Urban Meyer, Herb. What This is not college anymore. It's the profession. It's the NFL.
It's the big league, son.
It stands for not for long, because your ass isn't going to be there for long. You're already not winning football games. But to add on top of it all these shenanigans, and we're with it being a 17-game schedule, you're just about a quarter way through and all this has happened. It just took me fucking 9 minutes to explain all that.
So just think about this though, because there's so many different things and so many different angles we can go with this, right? Here's the one thing. I'm not going to talk about his infidelity and chastise him for that, because he's rich, he's famous, he's popular. I know men who have cheated with less, okay? So like that, I don't care about that. But if I'm Shad Khan, right, and I'm like, so coach, you didn't fly back with the team. Now maybe he was crunching film Friday at his house in Ohio, because I'm sure there is a office there where he could do all the film study, right?
Right.
And because of COVID, we know that they could Zoom or Teams or whatever the coaches needed to do to actually meet and go over the film, right? He may have very well done that Friday afternoon, Friday morning. But optics. People do care about those things, especially rich billionaire owners who pay you a lot of money to do the things that they can't do for their company.
5-year contract.
Right. Like Urban, you didn't take the flight back with the team. I mean, you could have taken my jet back up to Ohio tomorrow. Who cares?
Right. You could have flew back with the team, and then once you guys got back and did what it is that you do, because I seriously doubt that when they get back, they don't talk about anything and everybody just gets in their car and goes home.
Well, they probably break down. They probably have the conversation in the locker room, fly back, and they're like, hey, be back at whatever day. If you need film, you know who to talk to. They probably go to their position coaches or some shit like that, right? I'm just guessing here. And yes, Eric, I see your little theory, and we're gonna get there. So then you're out. I don't care what you're doing out. You're spotted out. Dude, no, you should be crunching film. And if you're not crunching film, you should be in your house at home where nobody can see you. Or if you're going to go to your restaurant that you own, eat in a private room. Come through the back door.
Because you certainly can do that.
Right. Give us the perception that you're trying not to be 0-5. Okay? Let us know that you care. Then you're taking selfies, getting twerked on by the young gals.
Dude, the
co-eds, right? Here's my thing. Again, don't get caught. If your players were doing this, you'd have an issue with it. You admitted that you told Trevor Lawrence before you drafted him, when he said he was going to Vegas for his bachelor party, to be careful. For one, it's the offseason, Herb. He's not even on your team yet. He can do whatever the hell he wants. But yes, be careful. But Herb, Mr. Morals, Mr. Let me tell you how to run your program. Let me show you dysfunction on the coaching staff. Mr. I stand behind Tim Tebow because he's of the utmost character. Mr. I had killers on my team and I knew about them killers, allegedly. Herb, you're now going to be out here with these young co-eds on video saying, hey, they just wanted me to go on the dance floor. So I just, some of the fact checkers say y'all have known each other for a while. How about you don't go on a fucking dance floor, Herb?
You're 50-something years old, man. And maybe he might even be getting close to 60. You're a 50-something-year-old man. The fuck you mean? Lack of judgment. It's just like, bro, first of all, when you were Ohio State's coach, we never even saw a video like that.
No. And you live there.
We've never even seen a video like that for you as a college coach, let alone an 0-4 football team that you've already had a couple boo-boos on the way. I don't know, man.
If Trevor Lawrence did that, he's getting called this guy right here, Johnny Manziel. Herb is the Johnny Manziel of NFL coaches right now. Did it at a high level on the college level, but he gets to the big leagues and he still wants to party like it's college. He wants to go back to his old stomping grounds where they love him, big man on campus, but because he can't hack it where he's at right now. Hey, Herb, take a note from Nick Saban, the guy. You know the reason why you went to the NFL to prove that you're a better coach than Nick Saban? You know what he was doing on the Manning cast? He was in his office in Tuscaloosa at the facility preparing for the next game. And they're Alabama. And you know what? I'm more than confident Saban could take off half of the season and it would be a 10-win team. He could just call it in.
I'd say more than that. If you remember last year, the biggest game of the year, what was thought to be the biggest game of the year, coming into the season, he didn't coach in that Georgia game.
Oh, yeah. Didn't he have like COVID?
Yeah, COVID.
Yeah.
So
and we got boat raced.
They were losing at halftime. Georgia was beating them at halftime, but then Stetson Bennett happened.
Right. So it's just like, and now you're embarrassing your billionaire owner. Again, it's not the fact that you were hanging out with other women. Nobody really cares about that. It's that you're embarrassing your franchise. You're embarrassing yourself. You're doing things that we would chastise a face of the franchise quarterback for. Hell, we would be mad at a receiver if he did that. And receivers can get away with damn near murder. I mean, hey, one of your tight ends did. And then Fox Sports, you bastards. I love Fox Sports, and I very rarely come on here and talk bad about Fox Sports. Because Urban's their guy. Oh, they've been quiet. I mean, quiet.
Well, they say, they're the type to where, especially because he is one of their guys. And the thought is, if it doesn't work out there, if he doesn't want to coach at least, which, come on, we all know. We've already talked about it on here, what we thought was going to happen. And this was 2 weeks ago, what we said. After the first 2 weeks, we're like, okay, yeah, I don't see this. This looks like an experiment that's gone wrong. It reminds me of Steve Spurrier with the Redskins, or for the politically correct crowd, the Washington football team, the team formerly known as the Washington.
And the thing about Steve Spurrier, I heard on some podcasts this week, they were talking about Spurrier. And one of the reasons why he didn't work in the NFL was they were like, hey, Steve, you're golfing too much. We're in the middle of the season, dude. You can't go play 36, dog.
Yeah. Well, and then Steve, like Herb, he's a Florida legend, right? They're legends. These guys can kind of do whatever they want in these places.
They haven't hurt, no.
No, and they won't. They won't. But like I said earlier, to kick this thing off, the NFL stands for not for long for a reason. It's not the National Football League. It's the not for long league.
And Pete, we haven't even got into his half-ass apology. The fact that he didn't even address the team as a whole. He canceled team meetings because he had to go apologize, and he apologized by position groups. And let me see if I can find that the screenshot of the tweets that I think Mike Silver put out, which were absolutely hilarious. Let me see where those are. Here we go. We got Mike Silver. Thread 1. Urban Meyer's situation in Jacksonville has reached a crisis point, especially in the locker room. One player told me he has zero credibility in that stadium. He had very little to begin with. Number 2. Players were particularly put off by the fact that Meyer canceled Monday's team meeting as he dealt with the uproar over the videos of him and a young woman getting cozy in that Ohio bar. He even canceled the team meeting. He was too scared, a player said. Instead, Meyer only apologized to position groups individually. He portrayed the woman in the videos as a random person who was just there dancing. Suffice it to say, the audience was highly skeptical. Said one player, we looked at him like, WTF. Right when he left, everyone started dying laughing, and he knew it. Number 5, bottom line, said the player, it's bad. I don't know how he's going to function. And then Shad Khan just came out and just gave him the business too. Like, hey, yeah, we don't trust you, dude. You got to earn your trust back.
Yeah, and you know, Herb's he's just kind of one of those guys at this point that you know that the shoe's gonna drop eventually. And that's everywhere. Like I kind of said earlier, that's everywhere. What's next is kind of really what we almost need to speculate. What's going to happen next? Did they get boat raced by the Titans this week?
Absolutely, they're gonna get boat raced. I mean, like 42
Well,
to nothing.
now. Julio didn't practice, and neither did AJ Brown. And the Jets didn't beat these guys. The Jets.
It's not gonna matter. I think. I think.
Is the dysfunction that bad to where they basically give up on him?
And they've lost 19 games in a row. They gave up on him before he got there. They gave up on themselves.
And they're at home. I wonder how the crowd reception is going to be.
It doesn't matter because those Jacksonville Jaguars fans are UF fans, so like they're probably like, it's all right, Herb.
They're like, hell, I would be talking to the big dude, you know, like, yeah.
I mean, shit. What do you think I do on business trips?
Right. And you know, and then Jacksonville, it's not even about the game anywhere. They got a fucking swimming pool in the stadium. You know, multiple swimming pools in their club area. It's kind of crazy, but
I'm scared of that.
Yeah,
probably a little Irby stuff going on in there too.
Well, who knows? Who knows? With COVID still running rampant, and you know, half of society vaccinated, the other half not. Maybe they have it shut down. Who knows? I don't watch Jacksonville Jaguar games, so I wouldn't know. But
I haven't watched the Jacksonville Jaguar game since I was about to say the last time they were on national TV, but that was Thursday, and I didn't watch that game because I was driving. I'm like, yeah, no, Herb's boys ain't getting my eyes.
The last I watched it. I watched it just for betting purposes. The last full real Jaguars game you probably ever watched was the AFC Championship against the Patriots.
Yeah, that was it.
It's at 2017? Yeah, it was 17.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it's 2017. No. Yeah. It was 2017. It was the year after. It was the year after the Super Bowl for us.
Yeah, random. I think we're doing the basketball preview show in like a week. You down?
Oh, absolutely. I'll give
the
NBA is gonna be real juicy this season.
I know, man. Like once you said COVID, like I really want to do a little Kyrie piece, but I'm gonna hold that till next week.
We'll hold it.
Eric just said last Jags game I watched, David Garrard was the quarterback.
Hey man, that's a pretty, they're an unwatchable bunch. But I mean, I can say that I know for a fact I watched that Patriots when they blew the lead against the Patriots.
I did watch them beat Julian Turner and Nigel Benson's team, the Steelers. I had to watch that just because I root for Mike Tomlin, but I root against the Steelers because of my insufferable Steelers friends, fans that are friends or friends that are fans, whatever I just tried to say.
Yeah, and you know, so I still have a Snapchat, right? And so Snapchat gives you the memories, kind of like I guess Facebook.
I watched the Snapchat memory today, and you were like posting all your foreign excursions and shit.
But I also, on this same day, we played the Steelers, and I went with Julian to that game. And Jew, you know how Jew is. He's one of those guys that he takes pride in the Falcons losing more than he does the Steelers winning, which makes him a closet Falcons fan.
Yeah. It's like the extreme homophobe, right?
Yeah. He's a Falco-sexual. I mean, that's what I would call it. And there's nothing wrong with those types. There are some people that are from the city. You know how when you love dog, it's like that Helga Pataki syndrome. You love talking shit about like something, and then in private you're like, oh, like I remember Helga said like,
you think Jew got a Matt Ryan jersey that he sleeps with every night?
What?
You think Jew got a Matt Ryan jersey that he sleeps with every night?
Maybe not a Matt Ryan. But I can tell you, he was a big Julio guy. You know, he really liked a guy like Julio. And I think that he got a little upset that the franchise parted ways with him the way that they did. And then because they didn't go to the Steelers, it made him a little bit more.
I mean, could you imagine? Like Julio might turn into a locker room problem if he played for the Steelers.
He's pretty much unheard of so far this season. I mean, I know he had the game that they beat Seattle. He had a big game, but he's been relatively. I haven't really heard shit about him, to be totally honest. And even with the Falcons, and maybe because we followed the team and we're fans, but I felt like he was still in the media, like for good reasons. Like, are they like, well, Julio can't stay healthy. That's why the team's 1-2, like on the national shows. But with the Titans, like, I mean, he's not even.
I mean, the Titans only get national attention if Derrick Henry does something we care about.
Yeah, that team, like I said, and hey, that's who Herb's got this week. I'm not calling the upset, okay? We'll get to the picks later. I'm not calling an upset, but I'm just saying I don't think that team is very good either. And Jacksonville's at home, and who knows? Maybe Herb actually gets out there and does something he hasn't got to do all year, and that's coach. He's done everything but coach, so maybe he coaches. That's what he's known for.
Is he, or is he more like a manager and a motivator? And a
recruiter? What? You're right. And I said this in the group. Actually, he's a high school recruiter. That's really this guy. He can sniff out some talent. I mean, I'll give you that. Those Florida teams loaded. Ohio State teams loaded. They were well-oiled machines. And since he's left both programs, Ohio State's obviously been still really good. But it was when he left Ohio State, because he's only been gone from Ohio State 3 years, including this year would make the third year. He hadn't even been gone that long from Ohio State. And I feel like the Justin Fields thing was already in motion. Like even
absolutely. Once halfway through the year when he was like, hey, I'm not getting burned. Hey, transfer portal. Herb.
Well, as soon as Fields, you know what, the moment they called that fourth down play for Fields, against Alabama in the middle of the field in the fourth quarter.
You're talking about that bad, like fake punt.
Yeah, the thing? SEC championship game. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That fake punt that you had the backup quarterback who's the number one recruit out of high school in on. Yeah, that play. I think the moment that happened, he might have already been gone, but I think that he really checked out after that one because he probably fucking couldn't believe that Kirby made that call. But,
Who has more NFL starts? Jake Fromm or
Fromm. If you're saying him or Fields, it's Fromm.
Fromm has more NFL starts than Fields?
No, you said NFL.
Yeah, who has more NFL starts?
Yeah, no, Fields.
And Fields has been in the league 4 games?
I don't even think that Fromm is even third string on the Bills now because we know that Mitch is the backup. I know that Fromm was the backup last year. But I think they cut him this year. I don't think he's even on the practice squad.
Look here, Kirby. I don't want you to become Curb. Because we're over here crumbling Herb right now. We don't want to be kicking the curb.
Curb.
I think we've let the world know how we feel about Herb. I think he's been crumbled and smoked enough, man. Where are we at, man? Little week 4 recap. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't watch a lot of football last week. We went to the Falcons game, obviously, and then we had
we had a great pregame. Everybody, it was
great pregame. Then we had a great after party that kind of like was impromptu.
Yeah, you guys left before the damn wings could get there. And I get it. You had to drive back. I understand. But
bro, I didn't drive back to Albany.
I know you went to Carsville.
Yeah. I was supposed to go to Albany. That
fun fact, and I know you probably knew this. Ronnie Brown's from Carsville.
Yeah, I grew up watching. I would watch him a lot when he was in high school.
Yeah,
they won a state championship his senior year.
I'm not surprised. I mean, hell, people forget this. Ronnie Brown was the backup running back to Cadillac Williams at Auburn, and then they both went in the top 5, but Ronnie went second in that draft.
Cadillac went 5th to Tampa Bay.
Yeah, to Tampa. But how crazy is that? And that was the year that some people say got snuffed from the national championship.
They wouldn't have beat USC.
I don't think they would have either, but god damn it, they would have made a hell of a matchup because it would have been interesting to see. Because who did USC played Oklahoma?
Ah, man, you're asking me to go way too deep. Pause.
I think
Pause.
that
Pause.
I think it was Oklahoma. I think that was
But that was what Matt Leinart, Mike Williams, right?
yeah, and obviously Bush.
Yeah.
Hold on, that's just popped up. All right. And I want to say that White was the quarterback at Oklahoma. Because that was the first one.
Yeah, that was the first one.
03. Or yeah, 03, 04. One of those. Because LSU won with Nick too, like the very next year or the year before that. I forgot. Regardless, fun fact. I found that out today. I didn't know that Ronnie Brown was from Cartersville.
Yeah, man. City full of legends. So we watched Tom and Bill. I did get to watch that game. And I don't think the Patriots are that good. I think they're well coached, but I don't think they're that good. But I also don't think Tampa's that good either. I think we're giving Tampa a lot of credit because we believe their defense is going to turn it around because they did last year.
Right.
But I'm not that confident, especially with the injuries. And I mean, defense is a year-to-year thing often. And look at Washington's defense. Like they were a top 5 defense last year. They are a bottom 2 defense this year. Real quick thing though, Chase Young, I've been telling y'all he was overrated. No sacks, only 2 QB hits all year. Chase Young is overrated. He just looks like he's good because he's big, fast, and he has dreads and tattoos, but he's highly overrated. But yeah, I just think that the Buccaneers are sweet, like I thought at the beginning of the year. Unfortunately, the NFC South is bad.
It is. It's not just bad. It's full of teams that we knew would teeter between one way or the other. But it seems like all the other teams, besides I guess Carolina, but I think Carolina's had a relatively soft schedule. But and that's why Dallas exposed them, by they really, got in that ass. And so
yeah, like Zeke
but
turned back the hand of the time.
Yeah, and the Falcons have been on the bad end of obviously because I sit here now knowing that we should be a 2-2 football team minimum, and we're not. The Saints are about kind of what we thought they would be. They're a mixed bag. I mean, yeah, because now we're going to hold that Green Bay win in such high regard because, damn, how the fuck did they steamroll them?
The same way that the Steelers beat the Bills. It's a throwaway game.
It was week one. It was week one.
It
was week one. That really is the best explanation for it. It was week one, and so you can't put too much stock into it, right?
Not at all. And well, we had a good Monday night game. Who the fuck played on Monday night? I forgot already. Oh, Raiders. Yeah, Raiders and Chargers. Chargers first test. I'm not going to say the Raiders first test because they did win Monday Night Football week 1, but it was also week 1 opening a new stadium with the fans.
Right.
So I am tempering how I feel about that win, especially with all of the running back turmoil that Baltimore had right before the season started, and Rashad Bateman's still not on the field. Sammy Watkins missed a lot of camp, and that was his first game, and it was I think Baltimore's real, and I don't think the Raiders are. You know what the Raiders are? They are a gold chain that's plated in cubic zirconia, right? It's not it's still real. They're still real, but it's not diamond encrusted. It's cubic encrusted. You know what I mean?
Right.
It'll get you a pass. I mean, Lil Baby had some fake jewelry not too long ago. It'll get you a pass.
He paid a non-fake amount of money for it too.
I know, man. But I think they're going to be competitive. I think they'll beat some good teams. But, I mean, if they don't make the playoffs, I won't be shocked.
Yeah, I wouldn't be either. I wouldn't be either. You got to think about it this way. How many teams? What, you get 7 on each side, so 14 teams. So almost getting close to half the league can make the playoffs. Every year, it seems like there's 3 divisions about that are stacked full of teams, and they just so happen to be in one. Raiders, Chargers, Chiefs, Broncos. Every team is. I know the Chiefs are 500, but every team, every other team in the division has a winning record. They're all 3-1.
The Vegas favorites to win the Super Bowl are last in their division right now.
Right. The favorite to win the whole thing this year is last in the division. And we know that that's not going to stay true. No. We know the Broncos were a product of playing all the teams that hadn't won coming into week 4. We knew that was kind of the thing with them, and that's why I gave you guys that free pick of the Ravens getting the job done. I had no concern. I had no concern over that game. I couldn't believe it, to be totally honest with you. But
and Teddy's concussed too.
You said who? Oh yeah,
Teddy's concussed. So like they got Drew Lock and loaded, baby.
I liked Drew Lock last year because I thought the year before he showed flashes. He reminds me, and I know a lot of people might not agree with this, but seriously, his upside aspect, and I'm not saying this is how great he can be, but his style of play and when he does get the results he needs, he reminds me of a Brett Favre light. Is that fair? Is it?
Cannon arm, super reckless white boy that is more athletic than you think. Yeah,
and he's a better athlete because he can move a little.
He can hoop. Like, he's a real hooper.
Yeah, he can move.
So I see where you're going with that, but here's the interesting thing, right? As you're talking about this, right? With comps, I think people get way too caught up on the successes of players and not the actual skill set when they start talking comps. I was listening to somebody preface a Mac Jones comp saying he plays the game like Tom Brady. But like he was like, I'm not saying that he's Tom Brady. I'm not saying he's going to have the success of Tom Brady. I'm like, bro, you shouldn't have to say all of that to say he's a take what the defense gives you type of quarterback. And Tom Brady has perfected taking what the defense gives you to a T. Like he's the person who will throw it underneath all game long, and he will shred you until you make a mistake, and then he'll go over the top.
Right.
And then you have people like the great Joy Taylor who goes, you can't compare anybody to Tom Brady. You can compare skill sets. I mean, we're not comparing legacy.
There are a lot of things that you can compare. We know that a player is a player. You know what I mean? There's only one of each. There are no players that you can literally be like, oh my God, that's him. Like they cloned that nigga and threw him in, some more skin. This isn't Futurama. Like, no, you're not going to
Eli and Peyton have the same parents, and they play football.
Nobody thinks right. Nobody compares them. You know what I mean? Aside from the number of Super Bowls they have, that's it. That's the only fair comparison that they both won 2. Peyton went to more, lost twice as many. But Peyton on his way. Peyton on his way to winning those Super Bowls, he beat Tom both times in the AFC
and
Championship.
Stopped Brady from having like 2 hands full. So you know what? I'm not mad at the Manning brothers at all.
He got on his Bill Russell type shit. Yeah.
Yeah. And we will really hate that man. So here we go. Don't lose the brightest mind in the organization. So I bring up this topic because Kellen Moore is starting to get the head coach buzz going early. And we heard a little bit last year. I think he got one interview, didn't get a job last offseason. And people were like, Kellen Moore, why don't he get a job? Like, he's not ready. Like, Kellen Moore's my age. I remember him being in college, like while we were in college. Like,
was that the game? I know that we did the LSU tailgate, but
I didn't tailgate to Boise. I didn't know that was y'all's freshman year. I didn't know y'all yet.
LSU was too. That was at the end of the year, I thought.
Well, it was at the end of the year. I had time to know y'all by then.
Right. Well, you're right, because you're right. That was basically the first week in September. But yeah, I mean, like you just said, I can remember tailgating for a Georgia Boise State football game at the Georgia Dome my first week of college, and now the guy is looking like the next Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, Matt LaFleur. As of now, this year, Cliff Kingsbury. These young whiz kids that just know how to spread out the offense. They know how to get the distribution. They use multiple running backs.
Because if you look at what he's doing right now, they said, hey, Mike McCarthy, Kellen Moore will be your OC. So we know that Kellen Moore is the play caller. They're running Kellen Moore's offense.
And right, because they retained him once Garrett was gone, because Kellen was already the OC. And that rarely happens when a coach comes in, especially a coach as tenured and who had the success that, granted, Aaron Rodgers was the majority reason. How often does that happen when a coach gets a job that they don't get to decide the OC?
It's different when you're in Dallas. We're talking about Jerry.
Jury. Yeah, Jury.
So if you look at the way the team is, you got DQ who has the defense looking amazing. And we talked about this last week or the week before, but obviously that's not Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy's has nothing to do with that defense. And with us knowing that Mike McCarthy's not running the offense, it goes, well, what is Mike McCarthy actually doing? And sure, he's CEO, blah, 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 who cares? But we know Kellen Moore's getting massages on Saturdays before games and whatnot in the facility. But we know that Kellen Moore is going to get the offers. Like Joe Brady and Kellen Moore are going to be the hottest commodities come next season. And what do you do if you're Jerry Jones? Do you say, I'm going to lose my OC, who is the reason my offense is what it is? Or do you say, I'm going to lose my head coach who lied to me and said he watched all the film and went and hunkered down in Pro Football Focus and learned how to use analytics, but nothing that he said or done tells me that he knows how to even spell analytics. So I go, don't do what the Falcons did, even though we made it to the Super Bowl, and no shot at you, DQ. I would rather have Kyle Shanahan as our head coach right now than Arthur Smith. Don't be like the Washington football team who had McVay, Shanahan in the building, and then you had to go Jay Gruden.
And you know who else was in the building that nobody talks about?
Who?
LaFleur.
Oh, LaFleur, and we had him in the building too.
I know, but he was in that Washington building as well. And and I'll never forgive the Falcons or Dan Quinn for this. LaFleur was the quarterback coach. You go to the Super Bowl, you're going to lose Shanahan. All right, you lose Shanahan. Why wouldn't we just give that man the OC job? Why would you let him get an OC job with the top? You didn't have an OC. You lost your OC.
We got Sark.
This guy knows the offense. He's been under the same tutelage of Mike Shanahan as Gary Kubiak, all these guys. He's been there too. He knows the offense, but instead you hire Sark.
Tell him to learn the offense.
Yeah, you're right. You don't even let Sark do his offense. He said, no. Arthur and Dan were like, all right, so we're going to run this. We got the playbook right here. You need to learn it. Matt and them aren't going to change it. We're going to keep it. Don't mess with the good thing. If the chicken is fried in that grease, we don't need to just check the temperature. We know when it's going to be done. You just learn how to know when it's done. We know what temperature to set it at. We know what type of chicken. We know how to batter it. All we're asking you to do is to do the same thing. We've got the cookbook. Fuck your recipe. Even though the reason you got this job is because of what you're supposed to have been known for beforehand.
Right. You're like a top-notch chef in Asian cuisine, but we want you to do soul food.
Yeah.
We have a chef who shows great who's came up through the system. He's a great soul food. He's a good soul food cook. We don't know how great he is because we haven't seen him on the big stage yet. We have him in-house. Hey, LaFuck, get out of here.
Yeah. It never made sense to me.
I blame Rich McKay for everything.
And he's still here. He's still here. He is the only person, aside from Arthur Blank, of course, that has been here since the Vic days.
And I blame him for almost everything because he's the continuity.
He is. And I just, because it's like, okay, he's president now. So he went from GM because he basically, I wouldn't even say stepped down.
Moved over?
Yeah, he just moved over. He just became another member. He's like a board of directors. You made him a board of directors because that's essentially his role. He's Arthur's advisor. You're going off the fact that his dad was, a GM. Like he's an NFL lifer. He's the head of the competition committee.
He has the tapes.
And he still makes like a lot of the decisions. Like I feel like he hired Dimitroff and Smith, and then also decided to keep Dimitroff and hire Quinn, and then now parted ways with them and headed the search for
Fontenot.
Smith and Fontenot. Right. I don't think that Fontenot didn't make the decision to hire Smith. Just like I think Fontenot's
a pawn.
He seems like it. And, I thought that too, like, City of Atlanta, Falcons fans, and you're like, black GM. Comes from the Saints. That's something that everybody can be like, well, if he was second in command with the Saints, they did a good job of getting out of cap hell. You know what I mean? For those years that they were going, just like the Falcons had gone, 8-8, 7-9, like, and then we went 4-12 that last year, but how we were basically a middle of the pack team for the most part. They're like, okay, this guy can work his magic, aging quarterback, because Drew Brees even then was still an aging quarterback. Matt's an MVP, just like, even though Drew Brees has never been an MVP, but he's a Super Bowl MVP and he's a Super Bowl champ. Maybe that these guys can help us. Arthur Smith turned around Ryan Tannehill's career. I didn't think that Matt Ryan's career needed some turning around. I just think that we need to get the right pieces in place. I like the idea of hiring that offensive coach.
Yes, but here's where I knew Fontenot was GM in position. And not he's there in title and not actually, able to be a full GM. When they asked about who has final say on the roster, and he said it's a collaborative effort, and I said, oh, that means Rich. Rich is calling the shot.
Yeah. Well, it's not you and Arthur Smith.
No. It's you and Arthur Smith. Y'all send it up to Rich
and Rich,
and Rich sends it back for edits.
Right. Rich presents to him. Rich presents to Arthur Blank what it is that he wants, and then he goes and tells them, "Hey, this is what Arthur wants, Coach Smith and GM Fontenot. This is what he wants. He wants this. So from these type of decisions that you guys are ultimately in charge of, this is what we're paying you to do. Make the decision." If you can't get Trevor Lawrence, then we want who's the second highest rated guy on the board, which is Kyle Pitts, in terms of who's the best player available. Essentially, if we're going to draft a quarterback, then we need to get the best one. We're not settling for the second, third, or fourth best option. I don't care how many teams want a quarterback. We're going to take the best player available. We're not basically Matt, and they knew that too, that Matt's already here.
And arguably the second best quarterback was available at 4 because the Jets hitched their wagon to Zach Wilson and the 49ers went high upside, the big developmental project, Trey Lance. It's like,
I'm starting him in fantasy this week. I like Trey Lance.
Hey, I was going to grab him off the waiver wire, and then I wanted to make some other additions to my roster, which my roster's shaping out right now because Debo.
Debo's looking good. And let me tell you the irony of that trade we made. The fact that those two beat me, basically. And then I didn't start Matt Ryan, of course. But the fact that I gave you 40 points last week to the 13 I think I got out of Gibson.
I mean, it happens.
And people were mad about the trade, but
they were.
You beat me head to head. And literally the people that got traded were the reason behind it.
Well, some people Here's the thing, Pi. We start talking this fantasy football talk. Some people are the Browns. You even if it's working, what they're doing, you just can't trust the method. You can't trust their track record. You go, look, man, I see what you're doing, but I just can't buy into it. And then you have some people who are like Andy Reid pre-Patrick Mahomes. You're doing it right, but you're just not. You just haven't got the ring yet to validate to the people who only count rings that you're doing it right.
Right.
Like our Falcons. For the most part, we are a well-run franchise. I'm not saying we're a great franchise, but we're well-run.
They have been since the Vic and Petrino fiasco. Not to get back into Herb, because now we're getting into that Herb territory. And that's the theme of the show, guys. It's Herb. Herb is the theme of the show. Not to get back into that territory, but ever since that happened, and I told Justice this because we went back. They did something on Pro Football Talk talking about college disasters, basically, because they were touching on Herb too. Everybody's been touching on Herb, and so they talked about it. Of course, Bobby Petrino was the first name that came up, and we actually need to thank Bobby Petrino, because without him, I don't think that the Falcons, maybe they would have fired him anyways. Petrino, maybe. I don't know. Because at that point, Bobby knew too, once Vic went down, we knew that Vic was never going to play a game.
Never.
Everybody knew. And there was no hope. There was no hope of that. But maybe the fact that he was such a fucking sorry coach and a coward and all this, maybe it doesn't set up Mike Smith coming in. And we knew that we were going to draft a quarterback. And I remember when people used to talk about Joe Flacco too. Like they were like, well, the Falcons could trade down. They could get Joe Flacco. Because some people weren't sold on Matt Ryan. And I'll be the first to tell you, as a Matt Ryan apologist, I wanted Glenn Dorsey, believe it or not. There were some quarterbacks in free agency.
He tapped out LSU, number 72.
He went the very next pick to the Chiefs. And that was who I thought would realistically, I'm like, we need defense, because we did. We were bad on defense, and what's new, I guess. But I wasn't sold on Matt Ryan. I know that Boston College at one point was ranked number 1 his senior year, but then I think they ended up losing like 4 games still that year. And I'm trying not to get too far off topic, but
we got to get to the picks. We're almost an hour in.
Right. But just to close it out, I didn't even believe in it either. But like I said, we almost got to thank Bobby for that. And because it wouldn't have brought the continuity and the success that the Falcons have got to, have from 2008 to 2017, basically a decade of very successful football. Maybe in that span, they had 2 losing seasons.
And you know what? We're even in our bad years, we've been a watchable TV product.
Yeah, they would still put us on Monday night. I remember when we played Green Bay once and the Falcons almost came back. Matt threw for like 480 yards. Julio had 200 and something yards. We almost came back on a Monday night against them in the frozen tundra.
All right, man. Let's transition to the report card. I was hoping that we would have major parlay here in time, because I definitely did not check his grades.
Let me see. Hold on, I'll pull it up. We can start with mine, though. Give me 1 sec. I know that I went 2 and 4 in college. It was a lot of wild stuff that happened in college. Let me see.
Well,
so I can pinpoint them.
We thought Arkansas was decent, and they got fucking boat raced.
Yeah, and that was a big mistake on my end. They definitely got boat raced.
But as a Georgia fan, as a Georgia sports fan, we don't expect our team to do that against a team that we think is good. Like, we have too much of the Mark Richt stench on us. To be confident that we're going to cover a 20 plus point spread at home against another top 10 team.
Yeah, Richt, hell of a recruiter. kind of like Herb, but never had that success that Herb got because Herb kept getting in Rick's way. And it wasn't just him. There would be years where when Spurrier was at South Carolina, we'd lose to them. And granted, let me tell you, Steve Spurrier brought respectability to South Carolina. They became a respectable. Yeah, it did. But he brought respectability.
You know what? Steve Spurrier, he probably deserves to be more heralded for what he was doing at South Carolina. Now that you look at South Carolina once he left. And since we're talking about Mark Richt for a hot second, here's another problem with Mark Richt. Mark Richt, high character type guy, he says the same things that Herb says, but I think Mark Richt actually carried out his high character stuff. And Mark Richt, he got rid of good players. Like, hell, he got rid of Zach Mettenberger for like a weed charge. He got rid of, what's the kid's name? He played Nick Marshall. He was a cornerback at Georgia. Wanted to play.
He's a national championship
quarterback at Auburn who beat us. Auburn, yeah. Mettenberger and Marshall beat us. Like guys he got rid of beat us. And that's the one thing about Mark Richt that bothers me. I'm like, hey, Mark. Yeah. I get you want to run a clean program around here, but we want natties.
We want natties, and then we don't want to lose to Boise State at the Georgia Dome in opening week. They're already they were good, and give Peterson his credit. Good program. They were good. That run was amazing. I don't think that any non-Power 5 has had the success that Boise era had. Ever.
UCF tried, but Frost left. And Cincinnati's trying under Fickle. And let's give Chris Peterson some flowers while we're at it. Like, he took that to Washington into the Power 5 and has been one of the more competent Pac-12 programs. Like, he got them into the playoff. And they got boat raced, but he got them there.
They got there. Matter of fact, that game was here too when they played Alabama.
Yeah,
when they got boat raced. But here, I got it up. So, we lost on the Arkansas pick. Texas money line, of course, hit. I wasn't too surprised. I thought that Texas isn't getting the respect that they deserve. Notre Dame wet the bed. They had an early opportunity in that game, I remember, because I was watching, of course. And, it makes you wonder, what does Cincinnati do if they go undefeated? I don't think that I want to see them play Georgia or Alabama.
But I think they make the playoff because they have the credibility from last year. And, I mean, they beat Notre Dame. That's a real win, unless Notre Dame shits the bed. So I think they slide in, and that's, it's going to be weird because the Pac-12 blew it by Oregon getting beat, and then we got the Big Ten, which I don't know if everyone's good or if the Big Ten's just down and they're beating up on bad teams. But we got Penn State, Michigan State, and Michigan in the top 10 right now.
Yeah, well, and you got a big matchup with Penn State and Iowa, a 3 and a 4 game. So essentially a de facto, because I don't know what side they're on in the Big Ten, but it'll be.
I think Iowa's the only one on the West.
So Iowa, even if they drop the game,
they're fine.
Well, it'll come down to then Penn State and Ohio State, because that's who it's going to be.
So you're not giving.
I know that Michigan State look good too. I understand, and Michigan too. Michigan's
undefeated.
I know both of them are. Both Michigans are. They're undefeated, and they're both in the top 11 because Michigan State's the better program, like, to date. Yes,
recently.
But the thought is that Michigan should be better than Michigan State. I would think so, and I get it because Michigan State played in the playoff too that one year, and they got boat raced as well. But so we took a tough L there. OSU 13.5, easy money. They won by 40 against Rutgers. Nobody was that surprised. Texas A&M. Now let me tell you about this game against Mississippi State. Texas A&M is so bad. They're so bad. They are so bad. Like Alabama, and you'll get to hear it now in my picks coming up. Alabama's going to beat the dog shit out of them. So I won't even explain it just because I guess I'm kind of explaining it now. Jimbo, I don't know what the fuck Jimbo's going to do because pretty soon there's going to be pressure mounting on him too. And it'll be one of those things where Texas A&M's got to think, can we really get a better coach? Is going to be that's going to be the toughest thing that they have to ask. So, or are we okay with, every year we're definitely ranked. We always will have guys going to the league. They're going to have to make a decision because that team is bad.
That's what A&M is. And once Texas gets to the SEC, A&M takes a step back. Sorry, nobody's growing up in Texas wanting to go to A&M.
No, UT's first. And
Oklahoma
then the rest
second.
Right, and Oklahoma would be second in that region. Or you're going to be one of those kids that goes to SEC program or something, which now I guess Oklahoma and Texas are SEC programs.
Exactly. So, like A&M had the advantage when they moved to the SEC. It's like, hey, we're playing against the SEC. You're going to be on the ESPN. You're going to play against the best competition. You're not going to play this soft Big 12 football. But now it's like, oh, Texas is here with more money. Jimbo, you know what? Jimbo to Miami.
To the Dolphins? Oh, you're saying UM.
To bring the U back. They'll try to bring the U back. Because of what he did at Florida State, it goes, well, he can recruit Florida.
Well, why not USC then?
I don't know if that happens this early.
The pockets are deep enough.
The pockets are deep enough, but Herb is trying to get fired to go to USC.
Well, right. And then it becomes that kind of thing, too, to where, well, Herb,
I'm not choosing Jimbo over Herb.
He's dangling fruit to me, He looks like he's dangling fruit to me. And that could be, that could be the way that they kind of look at it. That he's dangling fruit, But, we'll see kind of what happens with it. I think that they've got a chance to be one of those programs.
Okay.
If they get the right coach.
All right, shit. Let's tighten up. So we went 2-4 in our college picks. How did you do in your NFL picks?
NFL, let's see. Going through it now. NFL, we got. Hold on 1 second. It's coming up. NFL. God damn it.
Maybe I can.
Okay. With my 6-pack, we went 4-2. Pretty solid record, considering I went 6-0 the week before and then 5-1 the week before. So we're still well above the 666 winning percentage every week. But Kansas City by 7, I thought that was a gimme. I didn't understand why people thought that the Eagles were even a solid enough team at home to beat a team that was 1-2 that needed to win. Dallas money line, the biggest giveaway against Carolina. We know that was an overrated 3-0 team. Now, I was shocked here. This is where I lost one of them, the under in the Dallas-Carolina game. I guess I just didn't expect Carolina to really score points, but I also didn't expect Dallas to essentially put up 36 points in 3 quarters either. And that's what happened because they went scoreless in the 4th. So, and then Carolina got like 2 garbage time touchdowns. So that, Ravens money line against Denver, relatively easy pick. I wasn't drinking Denver's Kool-Aid. Teddy did get hurt, but I don't think that had anything to do with the result of the game. Rams money line, that was the shocker. I can honestly say I did not expect Arizona to go in there and handle them the way that they did. And it's certainly set up for now to where we've got to take Arizona seriously. Arizona's got to be taken seriously. And then, of course, the Whopper that I talked about last week. It did me great pleasure in picking it, not only because I really felt good about it, but obviously I love seeing the Saints lose. And so the fact that, the Giants went in there and took care of business, that was the home run pick of the week by far. Because if you had just bet, $100, you got almost $300 on return on that game alone. So 4-2. And like I said, one of those wins being a huge one.
I mean, look here, we go 4-2.
If you don't parlay them and you just set it up and you bet $100 each on each game, you won a lot of money this week still.
If we go 4-2 every week, we're where we need to be. So on the major parlays picks from last week, he took the Titans to cover. He took the Raiders.
I'll give him the fairness on that one because he put it up on his Instagram before the game. He said fade it. He did say fade it. but that was because we found out. I think AJ Brown was definitely out, but then it was Julio that got announced the day of.
Okay, so
I'll give him
he sent his bet in on Thursday, and things can change by Sunday morning. He took the Raiders money. He took the Raiders money line. No one's gonna blame him for that bet. The game was closer than the score looked, even though the Raiders got dominated. They were like one Henry Ruggs deep play from us having the game.
Yep.
And me losing in fantasy. The Arizona Cardinals money line, he took that. He took the Vikes money line over the Cleveland Browns, in which was probably the ugliest game we'll see all year.
Oh, by far.
He took the Lions money line over the Bears, which we all thought the Lions were feisty. But, I mean, the play calling was much better for the Bears, and Justin Fields played a lot better. And then he did take the Cowboys to cover -4.5 against the Panthers. That they did do.
So what's that? 2-4?
2-4, yeah. So
2-4.
All right, man. So we're gonna take your picks today. You want to go college or pro first?
Let's go college.
All right, Parlay Pete's college football 6-pack.
We got a nice little interesting slate here with the college games, and we're gonna make up for that 2-4 from last week. And I'm not one to shy away from winning and losing on this stuff, but we've got a lot of good stuff. So let's hop into it. So the first thing that jumps out to me is actually a game that starts tomorrow that I really like. And I don't know why, but I guess after kind of losing the Oregon game last week, it told me that the Pac-12 is really just in disarray. And I say it's in disarray because Oregon, after beating Ohio State, was supposed to have been that team. That, you know what, maybe they finally sneak in, because the Pac-12 is who's been – outside of Washington that one year, they're the team that's been kept out of the playoffs every year.
Yeah.
And games like the one that we saw last Saturday kind of prove it. Arizona State is playing Stanford, and they have this line set at +13 for Stanford on the road for tomorrow.
Don't do that against Herm.
I got to ride with Stanford and I'm going to buy the 1.5, +14.5. I just don't see. Okay,
never mind.
I don't see Stanford losing by over 2 touchdowns to Arizona State. Arizona State was impressive against USC. For those that watched the late 10:30, games or whatever, they were impressive. But I just wasn't. UCLA. I just wasn't. I wasn't that impressed. And there's nothing wrong with Herm. Herm's a chip off the old block. That's what he is. But Stanford's got that continuity. What's his name? The coach, David
Shaw.
David Shaw has been there since Harbaugh left. So, he had Gerhardt, McCaffrey. He coached Luck. He was the OC before Harbaugh left. And the thing is that Stanford does always put out a solid product. Doug Baldwin. Or not Doug Baldwin. Yeah, no, Doug Baldwin was a Stanford guy. So was Richard Sherman. Yeah. So was Richard Sherman. Richard Sherman was a wide receiver with them. But
yeah, Dick Sherman.
Point being, they do play a brand of football that he sticks to. And yeah, I think that's a coverable spread.
Yeah. I thought you were saying Stanford was 13-point favorites on the road, and I was like, oh no, we can't take that against Herman.
They're 13-point dog, but we're gonna buy the 1.5 to make it 14.5.
Yeah.
Next pick. Now we get into Saturday slate. Give me Michigan State money line at Rutgers. Rutgers is not a good team. Ohio State kind of proved that, because Ohio State had been struggling with teams. And I know that Rutgers is at home and Michigan State's kind of this surprise team. But Mel Tucker, former Georgia defensive coordinator, former NFL defensive coordinator with the Bears last, if I believe correctly. He was with Tressman and them. He's got that thing humming, and he's an alum. And I think that he's trying to restore the great name that Michigan State football used to be. They used to be a really competitive team for years. And I think that that's back. And I think that that's a relatively easy one, too. Next one. This is going to be one that a lot of people kind of don't see coming. because it's such a low-tier game, but I just know Connecticut is playing Massachusetts. These are probably the two worst teams in FBS. Seriously. They might be the two worst teams in Division I. But Connecticut beat Vanderbilt last week, and that doesn't say much. Georgia was up beating them 35-0 in the first quarter, but that's Georgia. Massachusetts is really bad, though. They're really bad. And if Connecticut, to me, can beat an SEC school like Vanderbilt, I don't know why they wouldn't beat Massachusetts. Take Connecticut on the money line. I think that is a relatively layup of a game. I know you're going to be holding yourself the entire game because you're kind of just like, oh my God, like it's fucking 0-0 after the first quarter. Like, I don't like this. Take them on the money line. I think that it's a relatively easy pick when it comes to this slate of games for this week. Next game, another one that I think that is going to get overlooked, and a lot of people will be like, whatever. I'm taking TCU money line at Texas Tech. TCU played Texas very well last week. Granted, the game was at TCU, so they had the home field advantage, and this week they're on the road. But TCU, Patterson, he's kind of gotten over that whole nigga comment that he made. I don't know. Do you remember that? Do you remember that nigga?
Yes.
He did the nigga comment, and like everybody was like, "What the fuck?" And then people were like, "Is he gonna get fired?" Like,
I think I called for his job.
Yeah, they did. No, definitely. But the players kind of stepped up for him. Like, well, no. But they look pretty good against Texas, and Texas Tech is really bad. They're a bad football team too. That's a bad football team.
Haven't been the same without Graham Harrell, man. Exactly.
I like the Horned Frogs, so give me them on the money line. Now we're back to the first quarter bets, and I kind of spoke about this one earlier. Go ahead and slap that thing on Alabama -6 first quarter at Texas A&M. Texas A&M, I can't believe that they were – you know that Texas A&M was ranked number 7 2 weeks ago, and now they're unranked?
Man, these preseason rankings are shit, and that's why I want to get rid of them.
Do you know how hard it is to have to fall like that?
Yeah, Clemson's still in the top 25, aren't they?
Are they? I know they're not playing this week. They're on bye, but
they were.
I know they were 25 last week. They barely won. They might have got kicked out, man. That team, they're not good either. They really aren't good. They aren't good. But Alabama is. And so -6 in the first quarter, relatively easy one to do. And what are we? We're 5 in?
Yep.
All right. And so for the final one, I was teetering, and a lot of people are going to know that I teeter. I was teetering between two things, but I'm going to grow a sack, and we're going to go ahead and just throw down on the one I just have a gut feeling about. We are going to take Texas on the money line against Oklahoma. I think that Spencer Rattler and Oklahoma have gotten off long enough against teams that, really weren't supposed to be in games with them, and they just kept fucking being games with 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. I just can't believe it. Red River Shootout, College Game Day made a big mistake by being at this game. Fuck the rivalry. Go to Iowa, Penn State. It's two top 4 teams playing each other. I mean, the way you guys have them ranked, you got two top 4 teams playing each other. I don't know why they wouldn't be at Iowa.
I mean, bro, they went to Georgia, Arkansas over Bama, Ole Miss.
But that was a little bit more understandable. Top 10 matchup. Ole Miss wasn't in the top 10.
I mean, but they got arguably the number 1 quarterback prospect.
Arkansas, for what it's worth, Arkansas actually had more. They had better wins than Ole Miss. Even if I think Ole Miss plays Arkansas this weekend. I didn't put it in my picks, but I've got Ole Miss beating Arkansas. But
yeah, but you got Saban versus Lane. It's just a great, good media stuff. Speaking of Lane,
I was gonna say, and then the Georgia game was a 12:00 game.
Yeah, man, that was too early.
Yeah, that stadium didn't think it was though.
Absolutely not. I mean, the Battery didn't think it was either. I was at PBR's, and it was a nice, decent crowd in there.
Yeah, for a 12:00 football game.
Yeah. All right, man. So let's get to your NFL picks.
All right, hold on. We are putting it. out there right now. Give me 1 second. All right, let's pull that up.
I just want to do a random sound effect.
Well, and we're not mad at that. Okay. So for the NFL, we got a couple of get back sex moments in this 6-pack. Let's go ahead and kick this thing off with a bang. We're going to go with the upset pick, and I hope I'm right, but I also hope that I'm wrong. And I say that just because I've got Christian McCaffrey on my fantasy team. Mm-hmm. And so, of course, I want him to do well because I've got to get myself out the fucking cellar. That's where I'm headed if I lose this week. I got to beat Eric. I got to fucking beat him. We're going to take the Philadelphia Eagles on the upset at the Carolina Panthers. They got Stephon Gilmore. I don't believe he's not playing this week because I think he was already injured anyways. Yeah. He hadn't been playing with New England. But I think he'll probably be eligible to come back next week. Carolina, they start 2-0 at home. Philly has now lost 3 in a row. They put up a good fight for Kansas City, but we knew that Kansas City would pull away.
And they didn't punt the whole game either.
Yeah, and the thing is that Philly's offense certainly isn't Kansas City's, but I just have a gut feeling here that the Eagles finally put together another decent game, and they beat a team that's, for the most part, vastly overrated, in my opinion. And we'll see if we can pull this film up by the end of the season to see if Carolina's a playoff team. I don't believe that they are.
Well, the NFL world thinks they are because they're like, oh, they went and got Bump and Run Gilmore. They made the trade the week before. They're telling you that they're ready to win right now.
Did you know that the Falcons, Adam Schefter reported this, that the Falcons they were trying to get Stephon Gilmore, but that he basically declined it. I think that Atlanta gave up more capital to get him, and they were going to pay him too, which is weird because we don't really have any cap space. But I guess they had enough to make the deal work for him. And I would have loved it because Oliver went out. But regardless, I digress. Next pick, we're going to go with the Raiders money line. They're back in Sin City, and they get the feast on Justin Fields. Not a great defensive effort against Herbert, but my belief is this. Matt Nagy him and Urban Meyer are going to fight to see who gets fired first. And we're talking about a team that's 2-2 versus an 0-4 team in Urban Meyer's Jaguars. And the fact that that's even a conversation, it just tells me Matt Nagy's a liar. This guy came out and said, Andy's our guy. You know, he was doing all this. Then last week, well, if Andy's good to go, we're going to start Andy. All right, we're going to start Fields. Andy's not good to go. Now this week, Andy's good to go. He's going to serve as a backup.
Monday, he said Andy was his guy.
And then he said, yeah, Justin's going to be the starter the rest of the season. Just wanted to let everybody know that.
I think Ryan Pace came and knocked on his door and said, hey, I'm trying to keep my job.
Right. You know, what he did is he pulled up a picture and he said, you see this? Say, that's my little girl. He said, she's got to eat. And you putting Andy Dalton out there means that she's not going to eat. And so then
you see your little girl right here? You want your little girl to eat? Okay.
Right. Well, you better fucking act like it. Like, you know what I mean? And so, but so we're going to take the Raiders on the money line there against the Bears. Next game. Give me Cleveland at the Chargers. They are kind of battle tested now. And I think that everybody knows how good Cleveland is. They won a hard-fought game against the Vikings. And I know the Vikings are 1-3 too, but that team is better than 1-3, and the Vikings needed that win, and their defense completely shut down that high-powered offense. The Chargers didn't show me enough. I wish that if they had closed out against the Raiders a little bit better, they obviously did end up closing the game out, but they beat them. The Raiders very well could have come back and won that game. I think that missed field goal really did turn everything around. And of course, the Chargers got a couple of fourth down conversions that really ended the game, basically. Give me Cleveland. I think that defense travels, and Justin Herbert, doesn't see a pass rush like that very often. Give me Cleveland on the money line. Next game, what I essentially believe is a layup. We're going to go ahead and take that -3 on the Green Bay Packers at the Cincinnati Bengals. Historically, Aaron Rodgers does not do well in Cincinnati. For whatever reason, he's had some pretty bad games there. This team is going to be without Joe Mixon, another one of my fantasy football players that gets to miss. But they're going to be without Joe Mixon. I think that he is a straw that kind of stirs the drink. And it's not like Green Bay's got this world beater defense or anything, but they're going to pretty much force Joe Mixon to throw the entire game, which has been relatively their strength. But I think it's because the fear of Joe Mixon. That's what the Jaguars tried to shut down last Thursday. Joe Mixon, that's who they were trying to shut down. And then quickly, let's see, we run 1, 2, 3, 4. So we got 2 more. I'm going to go out on a whim here and say the Pittsburgh Steelers' sorry asses finally get a win. I like them against the Denver Broncos at home. I think that Ben will maybe come out and show a little bit of flash, a little bit of something. They played pretty well against Green Bay. Green Bay's just better than them. No
Would
shock.
You start Claypool?
Over.
I'm not starting Claypool.
Not over Debo, or you got Keenan Allen and Debo. I wouldn't start over either of them. Then I know you started somebody else last week. It wasn't Marvin Jones. I would probably start him over Marvin Jones if you're running a 3 wide receiver fantasy team.
I think I'm gonna start Henry Ruggs.
You got Ruggs?
Yeah, I went and picked him up off the scrap heap this week.
Yeah, I dropped his ass. But hey, I got Trey Lance. I got to figure out, because if Matt doesn't really show up against the Jets, at that point, I mean, I'm confident in Carr, but I'm not confident in Carr yet.
Well,
and
I'm down to 1 QB now.
Right. And then for the final pick, this one was tough. It was tough to kind of come down to. And just because I haven't touched it in 2 weeks, and because I hate betting on it, I'm gonna stay away from it. I'm not gonna touch the Falcons game. I'm gonna go back to that Green Bay Cincinnati game. I got under 50.5 in that game. I don't see the points for Cincinnati. I do not see a shootout. I see Green Bay kind of coming together and actually having a complete game for once, where the defense shows up. They just signed Jalen Smith. Too bad they didn't get Stephon Gilmore. I know that Devontae Adams had sent that message on Instagram and said, text me, bro, and everybody's like, oh, what does that mean? But give me the under 50.5. I just don't see how the points come together for Cincinnati without Joe Mixon out there.
I don't either. And I mean, I like Joe Burrow, but I need Aaron Bleeping Rodgers to get off. Well, I need them to score,
You need the Aarons.
I need Aaron to get the Aarons to give me 30. Give me 35 points in a 35-7 game.
I think that they'll get to 30 against them. I mean, if Herb and the boys could get 21 on the road, I don't know why Green Bay can't get to 30. That's way more firepower. Now, and granted, though, and that's why, too, Cincinnati is coming off of what's basically a half a bye week. They're probably going to play a little bit better,
Probably, but it won't matter.
Prepare, because unlike Herb, Herb was partying. I'm sure that Zach Taylor was actually game planning for Green Bay, and I'm sure the guys were watching the game on Sunday together.
I'm pretty sure Joe Burrow, who could have went to his old stomping grounds up there in Columbus, was like, "Nah, I'm going to stay in Cincy, and I'm gonna watch some film with Jamar Chase and Tyler Boyd, and T. Higgins."
We're gonna me and the O-line, we're gonna look at these defensive schemes and we're gonna figure them out so that we can be ready for the game.
Absolutely, man. But hey, look, I think we burnt enough herb today. We got some good picks, and I don't have anything else for this show because the game's about to kick off.
Well, let's get to kickoff, and I hope that everybody gets these picks in. I'm looking to redeem myself, certainly in college. I know that we won't do 2 and 4, and like I said, at this point, we're pretty steady with the NFL. I feel really good about it, and because I didn't touch the Falcons, I bet I'll regret it. I bet they kick the Jets' ass. I hope they do.
Me too. I'll be up early. I'll be at work when that game's on. Shit.
I'll be drinking breakfast shots. And for those that want to know what the breakfast shot recipe, ounce of Jameson, half an ounce of butterscotch liqueur, and get you a cup of like a shot of orange juice. And then if you for this case, because it's early in the morning, you might as well cook your bacon, put your strip of bacon on top. It's like pancakes and bacon with syrup.
All right, Pierce. I'll talk to you later, dog.
All right.